Hey guys, what's up? It's Darkmick here with another Gold Challenge Mode guide, and today we are in Shadowmoon Burial Grounds. This is probably one of the harder challenge modes, simply due to just how hard some of the mobs hit and the interrupt coordination required on some of the packs from your group. So today we've got a Disc Priest, Brewmaster Monk, Unholy Death Knight, a Hunter, and a Warrior that we found in Group Finder because our 5th didn't show up. So to start this instance, we're going to go straight into this pack of 3 containing a Bone Mender and 2 Skeletons. Now you want to focus down the Bone Mender and cleave the Skeletons. Make sure that you're Dark Simming or Spell Reflecting the Shadow Bolts, and you've got a focus interrupt on the Shadow Mend, which is the heal. Once the Mender's dead, just start kiting your Skeletons forward. Now as we move up, you can see there's a patting Void Spawn. We're not going to kill this Void Spawn, just watch which side it's moving to and go to the other. Once around the corner, we're going to pull this pack surrounding the Summoning Altar. We just want to make sure that there is no Void Spawn in the middle. If there is, you will have to wait for it to despawn. Now this pack has 4 mobs in it, a Shadowmoon Loyalist and 3 Defiled Spirits. Now what you want to do is pull the mobs and have somebody get an interrupt on the Loyalist and drag it over this way. What you want to do is have somebody else going to pull the spiders, and Brewmasters, if we just drop a statue, once the spiders are pulled, they will pretty much just flock to the statue, which makes it easy to group up. The only mob really to note in this pack is the Loyalist. It'll cast Shadow Bolts and a big purple ball of shit that you saw when we originally pulled them. It will fly out in a straight line, and a pro tip is that you just don't want to get hit by the big purple ball. So once we've got them down, we're kiting them forwards, trying to save as much time as we can, jumping down the hole, dismissing all your pets. We're going to pull these spiders and go around the corner to the next pack. Now this next pack that we're going to run into hits like absolute fucking trucks, just a warning for tanks. This pack has a Shadowmoon Bone Mender, which is the same as before, Shadow Bolts and Shadow Mends, and 3 reanimated Ritual Bones who hit like Kenworths using Jack 3D old formula for fuel. I shit you not. Brewmaster's Guard, these guys really do hit hard. Occasionally I had to kite them on a couple of attempts. If you've got stuns, make sure you're rotating them, and as I said, if you do have to kite, you've got heaps of room. We technically should be moving with them a lot quicker now than we are, just to save time. There's a lot of things in this instance that you can kite forward to save time. So once they're down, we're going to head down and get onto the first boss, Sadana Bloodfury. Now Sadana mechanically is exactly the same as Heroic. The only difference to the challenge mode is there's obviously more HP and more damage, but there will be 3 spawns of the Daggerfall ability rather than 2 in the Heroic. So if you've got range, try and have them standing on the outside or even on the outside rim, so if they have daggers spawned on them, they're well out of the way. So we're going to use Hero and we're going to pre-pot on this boss. Now the 2 most crucial mechanics in this fight are the ad that Sadana spawns. You must not let this ad reach Sadana or get near her. You can stun it, leg sweeps, asphyxiate, shockwaves, binding shots, whatever you've got, you got to use it. If it gets to her, it's pretty much GG. And the other thing to make sure of that's important here is the buff you get for the Dark Eclipse called Lunar Purity. It's an 80% damage reduction buff. You get it by standing in the little white circles on the floor. You want to get that buff before that cast goes off. If the cast goes off and you don't have it, you will die, unless you've got an AMS or a diffuse magic to live through it. Another thing I should explain too is for that Dark Eclipse, you pick up your buff and get straight back onto her for DPS. You do not need to remain in the little white circles while that cast ticks down. Another thing for tanks to do that's a real bonus is wait for the last few seconds of that cast to go down, then pick up the buff. As I said, it's an 80% damage reduction buff that you can have after that cast has pretty much gone off, and help save your healer a lot of mana and damage, because you'll have that 80% reduction up for a bit of time. So make the most of that. You can see I'm picking it up at 1 second here, and then I've got it up for a couple more seconds. She'll also do a channeled cast called Whispers of the Dark. It's a pulsing AoE, as you can see. It's really of no concern. You just want to make sure that you're away from the daggers, and you shouldn't have any troubles on this boss. So once she's down, you want to mana up if you need to. If you've got a DK, you are going to get them to pop army, and you are going to go into this next pull. Now this is probably one of the hardest pulls in here, and obviously having a DK with AoE grip and army certainly helps. Now this pull has 3 enslavers in it and 3 subjugated souls. The most important part of this pull here is making sure that you are interrupting the enslavers and their cast called Rending Voidlash. Now this Rending Voidlash does an arse ton of damage. You can Dark Sim it and do an arse ton of damage back to them, so keep that in mind. AoE grip is amazing here to grip them up. If you don't have AoE grip, you need to have interrupts assigned to comp them up and stun. You can see there I was making the most of Serenity and Breath of Fire there, just to lock them down for as long as I could while the DPS killed them. Another mob that we've just pulled here in that passage is the Shadowmoon Exhumer. The trick to those mobs, and I'm doing it here, is I taunt them and then I put a paralysis on them. DKs you can icy touch and grip them. The main thing is to interrupt them through that cast with a stun or a grip. The reason being is if you interrupt them, they don't spawn their 2 adds. If you do get the 2 adds, it's not the end of the world, but obviously we're trying to save as much time as we can. And you can also see the little rune tablets on the side of the corridor there. We have to end up running over one. Just be mindful of what you're running over, because if you run over them, they spawn adds. And again, the adds don't do a lot, but we're trying to make this as easy as we possibly can. So we're going to drag all this onto the second boss, Ner'zhul. Now Ner'zhul is a winged Voidwalker with a helmet. There's 2 phases in this fight. The first phase you just beat his ass down, and the second phase you'll get transported into a void realm where you'll have to kick your own ass as a possessed soul. So the first phase, tanks just be mindful and face him away from your party. The reason being is that he casts a thing called Void Blast, sorry I can't speak, and in challenge mode it does a fair bit of damage. So I was using guard on it, DK's AMS, Monk's diffuse magic, you guys know the drill. He will do this thing called a Void Vortex also, which honestly I really don't get the point of this ability. It does no damage, it sucks you in, but it doesn't do anything if you just stand in there and beat him, so I wouldn't even stress about this. Then Ner'zhul will cast his Soul Shred, and your aim here is to kill your spirit before the 20-second timer runs out. So kill yourself, loot the corpse, and when you come out you'll have a 40% damage and healing increase buff. This is where you want to save your cooldowns for. Now note, we're going to invis after this boss, so you can pre-pop, but make sure that you don't pop mid-fight or when you come out of that Soul Shred, because otherwise your invis pot won't be up. You want to make sure that you're also staying away from the outside of the room, not running over those rune tablets. He'll also cast a thing called Void Devastation. He'll stand in place for 15 seconds and cast a bunch of void zones that will fall from the sky to the ground. And another pro tip is to not stand in them. He'll also cast that Planar Shift, and that's just him teleporting to a random range player's location and then casting Vortex. So once he's down, we're going to set up to invis. Now I should tell you guys there are several ways to do this instance. One is like this, where we invis and run all the way through. 2 is that you kill both packs on each side of the boss like this, and you skip the last 4 pack before the last boss with invis. 3 is super tricky, where you wait, get the boss down, wait for the Void Realm shift, kill him in Void Realm, and then run through everything. But that is ballsy and quite difficult. So we're going to head down and we're going to pull this next pack, which contains 2 plague bats and a monstrous corpse spider and a bunch of little spiders that do nothing. The focus target here is the monstrous spider, in particular interrupting its death venom cast, which will deal massive damage to your tank. The other cast, Necrotic Burst, deals pretty hefty damage to your party, again, so stuns, frag belts, interrupts. Be vocal and have a system worked out for your interrupts. I can't tell you how much that is, or how important that is in this instance. Once this pack is down, we're going to run down the ramp and we're going to pull 2 more monstrous corpse spiders. Again, interrupts, stuns, have them worked out. For us here, we had myself and the DK on Skull, and we had the warrior and the hunter on a marked, calling out as we went through. We were picking up doubles with shockwaves, doubles with leg sweep. Again, it just really is important to get these interrupts. We wanted to cleave them both down at the same time to save us as much time as we could, and we pretty much we kill them very close to each other, so our DPS was quite good. Again, though it really does come down to those interrupts. I can't sort of stress that enough. There are so many mobs throughout this challenge mode that can wipe you and put you back to a reset even when you are so close to the end. So these 2 are dead now, and we are moving up to the bridge. Now when we get to the bridge, we are going to pull the first carrion worm and the 4 bats. Now note here that the bats will do all the damage in this pull, but we are going to focus down the carrion worm first, who does the body slam. Now the body slam is really easy to dodge. You can actually see here on screen I lagged out for this whole time. I actually thought I was going to DC and I thought we were fucked, and now everything catches up and it's a miracle I'm still alive. Now back to what I was saying, the carrion worm is really, all it does is a body slam. It's very easy to dodge. So the goal here is to get the carrion worm down first, even though the bats are doing all the damage, and then start kiting the bats up towards the next carrion worm. Now I actually went the wrong way and then I had to go further back because I was going to die, but I should have gone towards the next boss, Bonemaw, to pull this next carrion worm, and hazed and killed the bats on the way up. But that's something that you guys can do now that you've seen sort of me fuck it up. So again, the second carrion worm, the bats are down. Again, just making sure that you're not getting hit by body slam. If you do get hit by that body slam, you are going to get punted out into the water, and you've got a fairly good chance of dying if you get punted out into the water. So the body slam, big purple stuff on the ground, don't stand in it. It's pretty easy to dodge. So once those two carrion worms are down, we are on to the third boss, Bonemaw. Now Bonemaw is pretty straightforward, but it's not a very melee friendly DPS fight. I guess we lose a little bit of time on it. Now Bonemaw will cast a corpse breath. It really doesn't do a lot. DKs, you'll just AMS through it. Monks, you can diffuse magic if you've got it. Now Bonemaw, like other worms, will do the body slam. Again, you just don't want to be standing in that body slam. The biggest thing to watch in this fight is the inhale. Now I was watching the inhaler timer and I just found myself counting down from 5 every single time, so it made sure people were the fuck away from it. What you want to try and do, as we're doing here, is position yourself behind one of these puddles, staying out of it for as long as you possibly can, and then getting dragged into it. If you stand in them, you get rooted in place, which is fantastic. You're not going to get inhaled, but you also take damage while you're in there, so the longer that you're out, the more you're saving for your healer. Now once that inhale cast is done, you're going to get back onto him in DPS as soon as possible, and you're going to wait for the next slam. The next slam, however, is going to come. The 2 ads that we fought on the bridge, they have now joined the fight, so now you have 3 body slams to dodge, and it actually is quite fun. Our healer actually got hit with slam there, punted out into the water, so this could have gone all types of different coloured shit, but we managed to keep it together. Now you want to ignore these ads. Don't bother trying to DPS and get them down. It's just a waste of time. I put an Ox statue in front of one so it can beat on that. So as a Brewmaster, you've got that option. But otherwise, you really just want to be smashing Bonemaw. As you can see, the slams do get pretty hectic. Our warrior actually got hit with one there as well. Again, this fight can get quite healer intensive, so health pots, lock rocks, make sure that you're helping your healer out. You know, don't be that guy that doesn't come to a challenge mode without health pots. I cannot stress to you how amazing health pots are in challenge modes. So you just want to get Bonemaw down as quick as you can. As I said, don't bother with the ads. If your healer cannot keep you up, you may have to kill one of the ads, but preferably you really want to ignore them and try and get Bonemaw down as quickly as possible. So Bonemaw is down and we are up to the next challenge. Now this is the pack that a lot of groups choose to invis. When I did it on my Death Knight the first time, we did invis this pack rather than deal with it. Now this pack has 2 spiders and 2 plagued bats in it. Again, the spiders are our focus, so we've got 2 people on the marked and 2 people on the unmarked. The bats still do quite a bit of damage with the toxic crap that they put on you. Now I can detox that, which I do a couple of times I think, but it just keeps getting reapplied to me, and I'm just trying to live. There is so much damage that comes through this pack. You need to make sure that you're interrupting the monstrous spider casts. They really can't get off, it's too much damage, that you're rotating your AoE stuns, that you're using whatever cooldowns you've got available to you, and that you are health potting. Again, I was trying to use my Breath of Fire here. I was trying to use frag belt grenades, whatever I could. I really can't recommend that high enough to you guys. Engineering for challenge modes is awesome. Those frag belt grenades, they'll just restart their cast again, but it just buys you more time. They are amazing. So once you've got through that pull, it's still not over, unfortunately. You've got 2 void spawns to deal with. Now I've actually wiped on these guys before, and it's heartbreaking. So again, have your interrupt system down pat, be communicating it on voice, and don't fuck it up. So again, 2 on the marked, 2 on the unmarked. You can't stun these guys. That's the only issue with these ones, so leg sweep and shockwave are out of the question, but you can still mind freeze and asphyxiate as a DK. So if one cast gets off, you're going to be okay. It's if two get off together that things are going to get pretty hairy for your healer. So get them down. We are on to the last boss, Ner'zhul, and we have 3 minutes left on our gold clock. So we finished with about a minute to go, so if you're getting here with 3 minutes, you're doing well and you're fine. So skip your cinematic, get onto him. So you're going to use your last heroism here and anything else that you have. Now tanks, biggest thing, face Ner'zhul away from your group at all times. He's going to cast a giant frontal cone shockwave called Malevolence. It is huge, and you don't want to be facing it over your group or having them to move and get out of it. He'll also cast a thing called Omen of Death. It's going to go on one of your ranged players. It's going to be a little circle. It's not so little. It's going to be a circle on the ground. You want to move Ner'zhul and your group as far away from that as you can. The next thing Ner'zhul is going to cast is Ritual of Bones, which you can see moving across the screen there. It's going to summon a bunch of ads that walk from one side of the room to the other. I think they have about 30 seconds from one side to the other. You want to nominate one of your DPS or your tank or whoever's going to do it, shove a skull on one target and go to it straight away. You've got to switch to it. Melee DPS, just be very careful when you're moving up to it to not get hit by all the purple shit, as it does a fuck ton of damage. And tanks, don't be a dickhead and run over there with Ner'zhul facing your group and what they're DPSing and get everyone stunned with Malevolence. I just hang back. As you can see here, I'll just sort of wait and talk you through this one. All of our DPS are on that skull now. I am facing Ner'zhul away. I am moving out of the way, still DPSing him, going back, and I'm going to wait for the next Malevolence before I start running through that little passage we've made there. Now I'm running up. If you run up and he casts Malevolence, you're most likely going to get somebody in your group hit. They're going to die, which you don't want to do. The biggest thing in this fight, it's kind of similar to that feeling of Warlord, Sailor and UVRS, where you get to the last sort of 10% and everyone just starts fucking panicking. As you can see, there's two omens pulsing, and you know, the biggest thing is just it's easy. Stay calm and you will be fine. As you see, we finished with 55 seconds to spare there, and that's 8 of 8 gold on my monk. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, as always, hit me up on YouTube or WoW Reddit or in-game. Add me on the battle tag. It's on my YouTube. I'm more than happy to help you guys in whatever way I possibly can. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and good luck.